Hello, Leeds United fans. Hope you're all doing okay. How is the head? How are the heads, I should say? Are we all feeling a little bit better now, or are we still putting our head in the sand and hoping someone stamps and crunches on our head because we can't lift our head above the sand and deal with another season in the Championship? I'm still 50-50 on it. And something I am very, very 50-50 on is the topic that we're speaking about today. It's Mr. Daniel Farke. Daniel Farke, the German sensation. Norwich was my favourite club. I just didn't do it with Leeds. Sorry, had to do it. Last one of the season. But yeah, we're going to be doing a lot more transfer videos, everybody. Stay on tune with One Leeds. It's going to be a really, really interesting few weeks. We're not just going to be talking about what's happened, but the raw reaction does need to be exploited, discussed. We need to really get into the fine details, one of which is going to be Daniel Farke's position at Leeds United, one of which is going to be transfers, who I think we should be getting, loan markets, free agent markets, so many that Leeds United can look at in the off season, and value for money, which I think is the best thing to look at here. We've seen loan signings for Ipswich, Southampton, Hull, and more, who have literally taken them to the next level. And without these loan signings, similar with Leeds and Joe Rodon, they wouldn't have got to this level that they've got. Southampton, you're looking at Brooks, you're looking at Taylor Howard Bellis, Ryan Fraser, players of that ilk, Flynn Downs. Then looking at Ipswich, Sarmiento, Hutchinson, Kiefer Moore, Hull, Carvalho, and co. Look, they've got to that level by a really smart utilization of the market. And what the positive thing is here, we've got Jordan Miles, who has specifically been brought in to do that. He's been very quiet around Jordan Miles. You'll rarely see any articles really about him. Obviously, the man that came down from Aberdeen, there's not a lot of hype around him, but I like that. Going a little bit below the radar. And I'm hoping for the 6 months that he's been in the club, he came in post-January. I'm hoping that he's been drawing up targets, Championship and Premier League. We're in for the Ghent centre-back. Apparently, that's according to really, really good sources. Florian Pettenberg has said that that's 2.5 million quid, 6'4", plays on the left-hand side of a back two. That's really interesting as well. The primary thing we need to get is Pascal Strout back into the side, but Pascal does miss 10 to 12 games a season. We know that, but obviously the primary objective is keeping hold of Ethan Ampadu, but also getting him back into central midfield. So a lot to discuss, but Daniel Farke, in or out? There has been a lot of discourse, a lot of discussion from you guys in particular about what you want and what you think should happen. I'm here to give my 2 cents on it. Now, I am quite 50-50 on it. I'll be honest with you. I think I'll tell you, we'll try end with a positive. But I wanted to start exactly, and there'll be a lot of angry people in the chat, because people, when it's sort of heated emotion and people have different opinions, they don't like it. So abuse is thrown. Chill out. People can have different opinions. It's football. It's a sport. My opinion on Daniel Farke is, I think there's a lot that needs to be improved on. A lot that needs to be improved on. I am not happy with his tactical flexibility. I don't think he would be the man to take us to the Premier League. There's no point in discussing this right now, but I think in the Premier League he would struggle due to how astute I believe he is tactically, which I don't think he is. But do I think he's got the coaching acumen and the managerial acumen with the assets that will be thrown his way in the summer? I think he will be. I think he is the right man to go forward. But when I'm talking about the 50%, which I'm a little bit struggling on, the 50% of which I'm thinking I'm not 100% sure, it is that flexibility, it is that ingenuity. But will Leeds have the power when it comes to assets to be able to overcome that? Probably. I would say so. I would hazard a guess and say yes, with the standard of squad that we have in comparison to others. But I do worry about his tactical flexibility. I do worry about his ingenuity as well. We've seen the 4-2-3-1 for about 48 games this season, even when Leeds have been stifled. The in-game management for me over a season has been a big red. It has been poor. If I'm to put it on a scale, a survey, it would be poor. Poor would be ticked with a big fat red crayon. I think when you're looking at throughout the game, not just the substitutions, but the timing of the substitutions, I think largely throughout the season, they've also been poor. I think there's been many occasions where you see Leeds United playing the Leeds United way, which for a lot of this season has been excellent. I don't know if there is a way to that, an ethos, which we're going to get onto in a little bit. But I think when Leeds have been playing and they've been stifled, Daniel Farke really struggles to make that early substitution. A lot of the time it's wait until the 70th, 75th minute, then there's a Hail Mary. Throw as many strikers on as possible, go to almost a 5 up front and see what happens. And I just don't think that's ever going to fly in the Premier League for a start, if that is our long-term objective. I know there'll be loads of you saying, Connor, short-term. We're not even in the Premier League yet. But expectation-wise, it's automatics next year. It has to be automatic expectation next year for this whole project to work with Daniel Farke and the Premier League and obviously the 49ers sticking with him. But I think the in-game substitutions, the timings of the substitutions, the wedded philosophy, which for me is short, interchangeable passes, which doesn't really exploit our best players, which in football are your wingers, up against their fullbacks. I think the wedded nature Daniel Farke has to playing short interchanges and not putting any demand on his midfield is a big, big problem. And I think post international break, it's been why we've seen Leeds get dominated in midfield from Watford, Hull, Coventry, all the way down to Southampton. That midfield has to be addressed when it comes to productivity on the ball, when it comes to what we do when we're getting overran. Because I think there'll be more teams deploying a 3-5-2 formation or a 4-3-3 formation against us next season with the success it's seen this season, even against the lowly ranked sides who put 5 at the back. He needs to realise how that's going to work, because the likelihood right now is we lose Somerville, we lose Nonto. So with Somerville, you've lost that ace card. The build-up is entirely down Somerville's side, and that's something I wanted to touch on as well. You know, has Daniel Farke really imprinted a tactical plan, an ethos, a philosophy? I couldn't really tell you what Leeds are. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't really tell you. For a lot of this season, I think it's quite right to say, I think at points we've been Vibe FC, large points we've been Vibe FC. The build-up is through Rutter, gets the ball deep, moves through that pitch when he's been on form, pre-hernia really. And that's how Leeds get up the pitch. It's about bringing Rutter back and dragging them up the pitch. Now, is that a tactical instruction? I would say no. It looks a little bit off the cuff from Rutter. But then obviously when we get into that attacking transition, that attacking phase of the pitch, the ball goes to Somerville. And you guys can cry about this if you disagree with me all you want. And I understand football's subjective, but you can look at all the quantitative data, all the heat maps. Leeds United's entire build-up is through a top player at this level. So when that top player goes, you won't recruit a player of his ilk. That won't happen again, as we saw with Rafinha, because that's hard to do in football. But Leeds can do stuff. Leeds can do that. And we're going to save that for a future transfer video, but that can be replicated 100% in terms of just maybe not the output that Somerville's given us, but the player on that side who can give Leeds a hell of a lot. But I think the build-up play on the 50% negative side with Daniel Farke is the fact that I think for a lot of it is Vibes FC. I need to see a lot more tactical ingenuity, because in the Premier League, that won't fly. It will not fly whatsoever. And I think Crysencio Somerville has put in one of the best individual performances there ever has been in the Championship, not just with goals, not just with assists, not just with goal-scoring actions, but also with dragging other teams sort of into his bubble and then creating space for other players. And I think another person to attribute that to is Jorginho Rutter as well. So there's a lot to improve with Daniel Farke, a hell of a lot to improve when it comes to fluidity, because if you're a fluid manager, you'll ultimately be successful at this level. And we've seen that with Russell Martin yesterday when he switched up 3 or 4 different formations this season. But the utilization of the loan market is going to be key. Free agents, signings, whatever. But I wanted to talk about the 50% good as well. He's got us to 90 points this season, which has been really, really, really impressive. There has been some games where he has been very, very good when it comes to man management. I will also say he has won big games. Southampton aside, he's won big games as Daniel Farke. 4 wins against the top 2 is a huge, ridiculous shame that we've not managed to go up with that. He didn't have a pre-season, really, fully with Leeds United. All of our signings came in late. They were good signings, but they all came in late and it was a rush. And in the first month and a bit of the season, it was turmoil. Sinistera was getting his lawyers involved. He wanted to go. We saw a little bit earlier on, Tyler Adams was dragging the club through the mud. We also saw Willian Yonto kicking up a fuss at the start of the season. Daniel Farke was having to manage all of these scenarios. We got into January. There's problems with Cresswell. There was problems with Jed Spence. Whether or not you think these were handled in the right way, that's by the by. They were handled, and Leeds still, towards the back end of the season, finished 3rd and got to 90 points. There's also the argument with continuity and a long-term plan, of which we've craved since Marcelo Bielsa and the 3 clowns came in after Bielsa. We've craved that continuity, that longevity with a manager. And I do look at, is there going to be a top manager around, a top manager that is going to replace Daniel Farke, that is going to get us ultimate success? There'll be a different style, a different playing philosophy. There might be different targets. He might not like the squad makeup. So I think a lot of the time continuity can breed success. And we've seen that with Kieran McKenna. Now, do I think he's a better tactical manager than Daniel Farke? Yes, 100%. Look at what he's done with the tools that he's had. Do I think Russell Martin is a better tactical manager, a better coach than Daniel Farke? 100%. You've seen it throughout the season. Tactical plans, a way to play against certain sides. Yes, they've had a drop off. Yes, they finished below Leeds. But overall, I still think our individual brilliance has got us a little bit further than it has Southampton. I think Southampton's the way they finished and how they got up was, I think they were a very, very well coached side. And I think we've seen that against Leeds United 3 times. Leicester, obviously, is a very, very good side that I could have got up. And obviously Ipswich, yeah, by the by, they have been expertly coached by a top manager. So I think as a coach, Daniel Farke isn't the greatest, and I think we've seen that. Just Norwich, much and Gladbach, and now Leeds. However, he does have a pedigree in this league. And are you going to get a manager with better pedigree to come in right now with this squad and get it up? I'm not 100% sure you will. But the churn is going to be massive. You know, we're talking Gelhardt, Cresswell, Joseph, and Joffe. When you look at how he's managed the youth, I think that's been poor. And that's upset me because I think now you're probably going to get a scenario where Cresswell wants to go. Bear in mind, Ipswich came in for him in the January. We said no and then proceeded never to play him again. I think that's really poor from Farke. I think the utilisation of Joseph after the Chelsea game has been abhorrent from a managerial standpoint. We drew the game afterwards with Huddersfield, which I went to away, 1-1. He didn't even get on the pitch, which is mad management, and he's barely featured since. I think when we're talking about football being a meritocracy, which he said in his press conferences, it's not a meritocracy because you're not starting Matteo Joseph, who deserves to be started based on merit. And I think some of the things he said a little bit when it comes to how he is as an individual is a little bit excuse-ridden. I think he's always got an excuse in his locker, Daniel Farke. And I think they're the things that I'd like to see a little bit of improvement on, to be quite honest with you. He's connected with the fans 100%, but he says that in every press conference because he knows it flies with Leeds fans and he knows it's going to blow up and put him in good stead. But he said, even in his press conference, he's a very smart man. I will be the man to take this club forward. So he's almost putting that in the ether right now. And I think he is right. And as you can tell, guys, I've got criticisms of him. Things need to improve and things need to be developed on. But would I have him next season? I would, yes. I would like to build continuity. I would like to see him with a full preseason. I think he deserves that. I would like to see him bringing in signings on June 10th when the transfer window starts. And I want to see Leeds being aggressive as a unit. And I also want to see the combination play between him and Jordan Miles and Greta Steinson on who Leeds United can actually bring in from the Bundesliga with Daniel Farke's connections, with Jordan Miles, vast connections as well in the football game. But ultimately, Leeds need to really strategize how this is going to work for them. And I think it can work really well if it's done in an efficient manner. We don't need to spend billions of pounds to get good players at this level. Leeds United is a massive attraction as well. So I think we should be absolutely fine. And the minimum expectation from fans should be automatics and nothing else. Guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Are you Farke in or are you Farke out? Let me know your rationale. Try to keep it above water. Don't cry about it. It's just a football discussion. I'm interested to hear what you think. Catch me out in the next video. We'll see you in a bit. Cheers.